Hi, welcome everyone. So let's start with chapter 4 of book The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Mental healing in ancient times. Through the ages, people in every continent, climate, and culture have instinctively known that somewhere there resided a healing power that could restore the abilities and functions of a person's body to its normal state of efficiency and good health. They believed that this strange power could be invoked under certain conditions and that if were invoked properly, the alleviation of human suffering would follow. The history of all nations presents testimony in support of the belief. In the early history of the world, the power of secretly influencing men for good or evil, including the healing of the sick, was said to be possessed by priest, priestess, and holy people. They claimed to possess powers derived directly from God that included the healing of the sick. The procedures and processes of healing varied throughout the world, but they generally included supplications and offerings to the god. Various ceremonies such as the laying on of hands and incantations and the use of amulets, talismans, rings, heraldics, and images. For example, in the religions of antiquity, priests in the ancient temples gave drugs to their patients and practiced hypnotic suggestions as they went to sleep. The patients were told that the gods would surely visit them in their sleep and heal them. Many healings followed. The devotees of Hippolytes were told to mix lizard with resin, frankincense, and myrrh and pound all this together in the open air under the crescent moon. After performing these bizarre and mysterious rites, they prayed to the goddess, took the potion they had just compounded, and went to sleep. If their faith was strong enough, they saw the goddess in a dream. This rite, which sounds so strange, even fantastic to our ears, was often followed by healings. People in ancient times worked out many effective ways to tap the incredible power of the subconscious mind and use it for healing. While they knew that these procedures worked, however, they did not understand how or why they worked. Today we can see that they were using potent suggestions to the subconscious mind. The ritual and potions and amulets appealed powerfully to the imagination of people and favored the acceptance by the subconscious mind of the insistent suggestions given by the healer. But the work of healing was done by the patient's own subconscious mind. In all ages, unofficial healers have obtained remarkable results in cases where authorized medical skill had failed and the patient had given up hope. This gives cause for thought. How do these healers in all parts of the world effect their cures? The answer is that these healings takes place because the blind belief of the sick person released the healing power resident in his or her subconscious mind. The more fantastic and peculiar the remedies and the methods used by the healers, the more likely the patient were to believe that anything so strange must be unusually powerful. Their aroused emotional state made it easier for them to accept the suggestion of health in both their conscious and subconscious mind. Their point will be discussed at greater length in the next chapter. Biblical account on the use of subconscious mind. What things whosoever we desire. When we pray, believe that we receive them and we shall have them. Read this passage and pay close attention to the reference sentences. The verbs believe and receive are in the present, but the verb shall have is in the future. The inspired writer is telling us something of the greatest importance by this seemingly minor difference in the grammar of the sentence. If we believe and accept as true the fact that our desire has already been accomplished and fulfilled, and that it is already completed, then its realization will follow as a thing in the future. The success of this technique relies on the confident conviction that the thought, the idea, the picture is already fact in mind. In order for everything to have substance in the realm of mind, it must be thought of as actually existing. Here in a few cryptic words is a concise and specific direction for making use of the creative power of thought by impressing upon the subconscious the particular thing you desire. Your thought, idea, plan, or purpose is a real on its own. plain as your hand or your heart. In following the biblical technique, you completely eliminate from your mind all consideration of conditions, circumstances, or anything that might imply a negative outcome. You are planting a seed in the mind that, if you leave it undisturbed, will infallibly germinate into external fruition. The prime function that Jesus insisted upon was faith. Over and over again, you read in the Bible, "According to your faith is it done unto you." If you plant certain types of seeds in the ground, you have faith they grow after their kind. This is the way of seeds, and trusting the laws of growth and agriculture, you know that the seeds will come forth after their kind. The faith that is described in the Bible is a way of thinking, an attitude of mind, an inner certitude, knowing that the idea you fully accept in your conscious mind will be embodied in your subconscious mind and made manifest. Faith is, in a sense, accepting as true what your reasons and senses deny. It is dozing down, refusing to listen to the little, rational, analytical, conscious mind, and embracing an attitude of complete reliance on the inner power of your subconscious mind. Here is one of the best examples of the biblical technique of healing. "And when he was come into the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said unto them, Believe ye that I am able to do this? They said unto him, Yea, Lord. Then touched he their eyes, saying, According to your faith be it unto you. And their eyes were opened. And Jesus straitly charged them, saying, See that no man know it." By saying, "According to your faith be it unto you," Jesus was openly appealing to the cooperation of the subconscious mind of the blind man. Their faith was their great expectancy, their inner feeling, their inner conviction, and something miraculous would happen, that their prayer would be answered. And therefore it was. This is the time-honored technique of healing, utilized alike by all healing groups throughout the world, regardless of religion affiliation. In saying, "See that no man know it," Jesus was urging the healed patient not to discuss their healing with others. If they did so, they might be harassed by the skeptical and derogatory criticism of the unbelieving. This in turn might have tended to undo the benefits they had received at the hand of Jesus by depositing thoughts of fear, doubt, anxiety in the subconscious mind, for which authority and power he commanded the unclean spirit, and they came out. When the sick came to Jesus to be healed, they were healed by their own faith, together with his faith and understanding of the healing power of the subconscious mind. Whatever he decreed, he felt inwardly to be true. He and the people needing help were in the one universal subjective mind, and his silent inner knowing and conviction of the healing power changed the negative destruction patterns in the patient's subconscious. The resultant healings were the automatic response to the internal mental change. His command was his appeal to the subconscious mind of the patients, plus his awareness, feeling, and absolute trusting. The response of the subconscious mind to the words that he spoke with authority. Miracles at various shrines throughout the world. On every continent, in every land, there are shrines at which cures takes place. Some are world famous, others are known only to those who live nearby. Whether celebrated or obscure, the healings that happen at the shrines happens for the same reasons and by way of the same powers of the subconscious mind. I have visited several of the famous shrines in Japan. The central focus of the world-renowned shrine of Daibutsu is a gigantic bronze statue, 42 feet tall. It depicts Buddha seated with folded hands, his head inclined in an attitude of profound contemplative ecstasy. Here I saw young and old making offerings at its feet. Money, fruit, rice, and oranges were offered. Candles were lit, incense was burned, and the prayers of petitions were recited. I listened to the chant of a young girl as she intoned a prayer, bowed low, and placed 2 oranges as an offering. She was thanking Buddha for restoring her voice. She had lost her voice, but it was restored at the shrine. Her simple faith that Buddha would give her back her singing voice if she followed a certain ritual, fasted, and made certain offerings that helped to kindle faith and expectancy. The result was a conditioning of her mind to the point of belief. Her subconscious mind then responded to her belief. The power of imagination and blind belief can't be overstated. A wondrous example of this is the case of a relative of mine in Perth, in Western Australia, who suffered from tuberculosis. Her lungs were badly diseased. His son decided to help his father heal himself. He went to his father's home and told him that he had recently met a wandering monk with strange powers. This monk had just returned from a long stay at one of the most celebrated healing shrines in Europe. There he had acquired a small fragment of the true cross, set in a ring that dated back to the Middle Ages. Over the centuries, countless sufferers had been healed after touching the ring or the fragment of the cross. When the son had heard this, he had told the monk about his father's illness and begged to borrow the ring. The monk had agreed. The son then gave the monk a free will offering of the equivalent of $500. When the son showed his father the ring, the older man practically snatched it from him. He clasped the ring to the chest, prayed silently, and went to sleep. In the morning, he was healed. All the clinic tests proved negative. Healings of this sort happen all the times. What is most significant about this one is that the son's amazing story was totally made up. In fact, he had picked up a splinter of ordinary wood from a sidewalk, taken it into a jeweler, and had it set into a gold ring of antique design. He then gave it to his father. Of course, it was not the splinter of wood from sidewalk that healed the father. No, it was his imagination aroused to an intense degree, plus the confident expectancy of a perfect healing. Imagination was joined to faith or subjective healing, and the union of two brought about the healing through the power of subconscious mind. The father never learnt of the trick that has been played upon him. If he had, he might well have had a relapse. Instead, his tuberculosis never returned. He remained completely cured and passed away from all causes 15 years later at the age of 89. One universal healing principle. It is a well-known fact that all the various schools of healing bring about documented cures of the most wonderful character. The most obvious conclusion that strikes your mind is that there must be some underlying organ and process that is common to them all. Indeed, there is. The organ of healing is the subconscious mind, and the process of healing is faith. Think deeply about these fundamental truths. You possess mental functions that have been distinguished by designating one the conscious mind and other the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is constantly amenable to the power of suggestion. Your subconscious mind has complete control of the functions, conditions, and sensations of your body. You surely know that symptoms of almost any disease can be induced in hypnotic suggestions. For example, a subject in a hypnotic state can develop a high temperature, flushed face, or chills according to the nature of the suggestion given. You can suggest to the person that he is paralyzed and cannot walk, and it will be so. You can hold a cup of cold water under the nose of the hypnotic subject and tell him, "This is full of pepper, smell it." He will sneeze violently and repeatedly. What do you think caused him to sneeze? The water or the suggestion? If someone tells you he is allergic to Timothy grass, you can place a synthetic flower or an empty glass in front of his nose when he is in a hypnotic state and tell him that it is Timothy grass. He will develop his usual allergic symptoms. This shows us that cause of symptoms is in the subconscious mind. Curing the symptoms also takes place in the subconscious mind. Different schools of medicine such as osteopathy, chiropractic, Qigong, acupuncture, and naturopathy all produce remarkable healings. So, do the rites and ceremonies of the various religious beliefs throughout the world. It is obvious that all of these healings are brought about through the subconscious mind, the only healer there is. Notice how the subconscious mind heals a cut on your finger. It knows exactly how to do it. The doctor dresses the wound and says nature heals it. But nature is nothing more than another name for natural law, the law of the subconscious mind. The instinct of self-preservation is the first law of nature, and self-preservation is the foremost function of the subconscious mind. Your strongest instinct is the most potent of all autosuggestions. widely different theories. Many different theories of healings have been advanced by different religious sects and prayer therapy groups. There are a great number who claim that because their practice produces results, their theory therefore must be right. As we have seen in this chapter, this cannot be right. As you know, there are many varieties of healing. Franz Anton Mesmer, 1734 to 1815, an Austrian physician who practiced in Paris, discovered that by applying magnets to a diseased body, he could cure that disease miraculously. He also performed cure with various other pieces of glass and metal. Later, he abandoned the use of these objects in favor of passing his hands over the patient's body. He claimed that the real source of his cure was what he called animal magnetism. He theorized that some mysterious magnetic substance was transmitted from the healer's hand to the patient. Mesmer lent his name to this method of treating disease, which came to be called mesmerism. Today we know it as hypnotism. Other physicians, jealous of Mesmer's success, claimed that all his healings were due to suggestions and nothing else. When pressed, however, they had to admit that they did not know how this power of suggestion created such amazing effects. All of these groups, psychiatrists, psychologists, osteopaths, chiropractors, physicians, and religious groups of every variety, are using the one universal power resident in the subconscious mind. Each may proclaim the healing are due to their theory, but the truth is far different. The process of all healing is a definite, positive, mental attitude and inner attitude or way of thinking called faith. Healing is due to a confident expectancy that acts as a powerful suggestion to the subconscious mind, releasing its healing potency. One person does not heal by different power than another. It is true that both may have their own theories or methods, but there is only one process of healing, that is faith. There is only one healing power, namely your subconscious mind. Select whatever theory, belief and method that calls out to you. You can rest assured if you have faith, you will get results. Views of Paracelsus. Philippus Paracelsus, a famous Swiss alchemist and physician who lived from 1493 to 1541, was a great healer in his day. He stated what is now an obvious scientific fact when he said, "Whether the object of your faith be real or false, you will nevertheless obtain the same effects. Thus, I believed in St. Peter's statue as I should have believed in St. Peter's himself. I shall obtain the same effect that I should have obtained from St. Peter. But that is superstition. Faith, however, produces miracles, and whether it is true or false, faith, it will always produce the same wonders." The views of Paracelsus were echoed in the 16th century by Pietro Pomponazzi, an Italian philosopher who wrote, "We can easily conceive the marvelous effects which confidence and imagination can produce, particularly when both qualities are reciprocated between the subject and the person who influences them. The cures attributed to the influence of certain relics are the effect of their imagination and confidence. Quacks and philosophers know that if the bones of an skeleton are put in place of saint's bone, the sick would nonetheless experience beneficial effects, if they believed that they were veritable relics." Think what this implies. If you believe in the power of saint's bone, or in the healing properties of certain waters, or like my Australian relative in the miraculous effects of a fragment of wood, you will get results because of the powerful suggestion given to your subconscious mind. It is the latter that does the healing. Benham's Experiments. Hippolyte Benham was professor of medicine at Nancy, France, early in 20th century. He was one of the first to explain how a physician's suggestion to the patient took effect because of the force of subconscious mind. Benham relates the story of a man whose tongue was paralyzed. Every form of treatment was tried, with no success at all. Then one day, the man's doctor announced that he had learned of a new instrument that was certain to relieve his problem. The doctor then put a pocket thermometer in the patient's mouth. The patient imagined this was the instrument that was to save him. In a few moments, he cried out joyfully, that he could once more move his tongue freely. Burnham continues, among our cases, facts of the same sort will be found. A young girl came into my office, having suffered from complete loss of speech for nearly 4 weeks. After making sure of diagnosis, I told my students that loss of speech sometimes yielded instantly to electricity, which might act simply by its suggestive influence. I sent for the induction apparatus. I applied my hand over the larynx and moved a little and said, now you can speak aloud. In an instant, I made her say A, then B, then Maria. She continued to speak distinctly. The loss of voice had disappeared. Here, Burnham is showing the power of faith and expectancy on the part of patient, which acts as a powerful suggestion to the subconscious mind. Producing a blister by suggestion. Burnham stated that he produced a blister on the back of a patient's neck by applying a postage stamp and suggesting to the patient that it was a fly plaster. This sort of demonstration had been confirmed by the experiments and experiences of many doctors in many parts of the world. They leave no doubt that structural changes in the body can be brought about as a result of oral suggestion to patients. The cause of bloody stigmata. Hemorrhages and bloody stigmata can be induced by means of suggestion. As a demonstration of this, Dr. M. Boru put a subject into a hypnotic trance. They gave him the following suggestion. After 4 o'clock this afternoon, after the hypnosis, you will come into my office. Sit down in the armchair, fold your arms across your chest. Your nose will then begin to bleed. That afternoon, young man did exactly as he had been told. After he crossed his arm, several drops of blood came from his left nostril. On another occasion, the same investigator traced a patient's name on both his forearms with a dull point of instrument while the patient was in hypnotic trance. Boru then said, at 4 o'clock this afternoon, you will go to sleep. Your arms will bleed along the lines I have traced, and your name will appear written on your arms in letter of blood. The patient was carefully observed that afternoon. At 4 o'clock he fell asleep. On his left arm, the letters stood out in bright relief, and in several places there were drops of blood. Although the letters gradually faded, they were still faintly visible 3 months afterward. These facts demonstrate at once the correctness of the two fundamental propositions previously stated, namely, the constant amenability of the subconscious mind to the power of suggestion and the perfect control that the subconscious mind exercises over the functions, sensations, and conditions of the body. Of the foregoing phenomena, dramatize vividly abnormal conditions induced by suggestion. They are conclusive proof, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Healing points in review. Remind yourself frequently that the healing power is in your subconscious mind. Know that faith is like a seed planted in the ground. It grows after its kind. Plant the seed idea in your mind, water, and fertilize it with expectancy, and it will become manifest. The idea you have for a book, new invention, or play in your mind. This is why you can believe you have it now. Believe in the reality of your idea, plan, or invention, and as you do, it will become manifest. In praying for another, know that your silent inner knowings of wholeness, beauty, and perfection can change the negative patterns of other subconscious mind and bring about wonderful results. The miraculous healings you hear about at various shrines are due to imagination and blind faith that act on the subconscious mind, releasing the healing power. All disease originates in the mind. Nothing appears on the body unless there is a mental pattern corresponding to it. The symptoms of almost any disease can be induced in you by hypnotic suggestion. This shows you the power of your thought. There is only one process of healing, and that is faith. There is only one healing power, namely your subconscious mind. Whether the object of your faith is real or false, you will get results. Your subconscious mind responds to the thought in your mind. Look upon faith as a thought in your mind, and that will suffice. Thank you.